What if the road to healing and self-discovery was paved by 3,000 miles of determination, grit, and tandem bicycle? In this episode of Just Saying, I sit down with Terry M. Brown, the author of 10 Little Rules for Double-Butted Adventure, who turned heartbreak into hope by pedaling across the United States. Yes, on a tandem bike, while raising money for Toys for Tots. Join us as we dive into our powerful story of resilience, freedom, and the wild beauty of chasing a life that truly fits. Let's get to it. Hey friends, what do you do when life breaks you down? Well, if you're Terry, you get on that tandem bike and you ride your way to healing, literally. Today, my guest is Terry M. Brown, author and, she's an author about resilience and reinvention and creating your own rules for life, right? Welcome, Terry, to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Jessica. I'm really excited to be here today.
I'm really excited to dive into more of your story too, because the tandem bike thing just gets me. I think I told you this in the pre-interview, but I purchased a tandem bike for my sister as a joke, and it is no joke. That bike is hard to ride, especially when you have another person.
It's hard to ride, and if the two people don't know how to communicate well, it can turn into a really bad situation. In fact, it's known as a divorce machine. So
I gave it to my sister on her wedding day.
Yeah, well, aren't you kind?
I guess I didn't do my research.
Yeah. So, and really, it's interesting for my husband and I, it wasn't that at all. We got along beautifully on it. Not every day. I mean, we had to learn, but we got along really well. I think that it requires that you figure it out. You've got to figure out how to work with someone else. And I don't just mean get along with them because I mean, work with them. And
I mean, isn't that like all of marriage though? If you really break it down.
Yeah.
That is
so,
like
well, I tell everyone that this 3-month ride was like 20 years of marriage.
That's okay. So let's rewind. Let's get you, how did we get to the bike? So let's get to the start of the story.
Yeah. So the start of the story goes way back. I was in an abusive relationship. So emotionally abusive relationship for 14 years. The reason I was in it so long is because that was my second marriage and I didn't want to be divorced twice. And so I hung on and I was determined that I was going to make something work. And eventually I realized it wasn't. I got out of that, and now it's 2017 and I am a pretty broken individual. And despite the fact that for a long time, I really fought against the abuse. If you live in a situation that long, you eventually start absorbing what you hear. And so when I got out of that relationship, I did not expect to ever be married again, to ever be in a relationship again. I also didn't really expect my life to do anything else. I was mid-50s and I thought I was done.
Well, also, just let me interject.
Yeah.
A lot of time abusers, they make you feel that way.
Yes.
Because they want to tie you to them forever because they don't want you ever to leave because they're like, they actually can't live without you. It's not,
It's a crazy thing. But so I get out of the relationship and you don't get out of something like that and you're just instantaneously healthy. You're not. Mental health wise, it was sad. And I kind of felt like I wasn't ever going to achieve anything else. I figured the rest of my life was going to be, I would become a grandma and I would live through them and that would be it. Like I just didn't see my life doing anything else. During that time, as I'm getting out of this bad relationship, my son has a friend who started walking the Appalachian Trail. And I was reading his blogs like a drowning woman. Like there was something about that just, I kept thinking, I want to do that. I want to do something like that, something big and bold that would prove to the world that I still have value. Which is crazy because the world did not believe I didn't have value. I believed it, but the world was fine. But anyway, that's kind of what I was thinking. Then I met Bruce, who ends up becoming my third husband, which could be a podcast all on its own. But he tells people that he chased me until I caught him. So he was just he just didn't go away. Like he kind of came into my life. I told him, I'm not looking for what you're looking for. You probably need to leave. And he just would smile, and he just waited. And eventually I realized that he really was the right person for me. But he said to me shortly after we started seeing one another, he said, I've always wanted to ride across the United States on a bicycle. I saw a group of college kids do it in 1976. I was in the military, couldn't go, but I've always wanted to do that. Well, immediately I'm like, oh, that could be an adventure. Now, I had no intention of marrying him at that point, but I thought I could go on an adventure with someone. You don't have to be married to do that. And
Right.
so I said, is this something you're going to talk about until the day you die, or are you actually going to do it? And he said, no, I want to do it. I said, count me in. Well, before long, it became very apparent that he is very good on a bicycle. He's been riding since he was a kid. I had not been on a bicycle in 40 years. There was no amount of training that was going to catch me up to him.
It's not like riding a bike, right?
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, like I could get on it again, but he was fit, and he would do age bicycle racing and all of these things. Ugh. So we started riding the tandem. And when we're riding the tandem, then he can't go faster than me and I can't go slower than him. Like we have to find a way to work together to make his strengths and my strengths work together, and his
That's a
strengths to
question
overcome my weaknesses. Yeah,
because tandem is not like what he bikes with, because he's bikes
exactly.
for a sport or not,
Right.
like to stay in shape. And I
Right.
know a lot of bikers, and they're like they're intense.
Yes. Yes.
Right. And so was the choice to do tandem because he didn't want to leave you behind and he wanted you to be with him the whole entire way? Or what was the choice to change from single bike to tandem?
I
If you don't
think
mind me.
it was partially because he knew that this ride wasn't going to be he and I together at all. Like he would always be ahead of me. I would always be coming in hours later. And I think
Right.
he knew that he was either going to have to be on his bicycle going much slower than would feel comfortable for him, or we were going to have to come up with some other way to make this work. He wanted to ride across the United States on a bicycle. He didn't care if it was single, if it was double, if it was more about he wanted this experience. And he realized that by taking me along, it was going to be a different experience.
Can I
But
ask you a
also
question?
by taking me along, he was going to get to go.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Was it always one or the other? Was he in front or were you in front, or who rode in
He
front?
was
Did you
he
take
was
turns?
always in front, and that was the wise thing. He is a cyclist. He knows how to look at the traffic. He could see problems before they
Okay.
happened. I'm not that person.
I
I'm
just
this
didn't know.
I
I guess
look like
that
this.
makes that makes a lot of like squirrel.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I know it makes a lot of sense because like you said, he knows traffic and all that. I was just curious to know, like, is a stronger person in the front or if it was in the back? I didn't know on a tandem
Think
bike.
I think on the tandem bike, it really doesn't matter. And he and I, in our legs and our ability to ride, he was a little stronger than me, but not significantly. He had more endurance. But when it came right down to it, we were both pretty strong when it came to being able to pedal. But we needed him on the front because he could see a pothole a mile away. He knew how to avoid things. I wouldn't have been as good at that. So
Right.
I did my thing. On the back, you do things like you pay attention to the cars coming up, and I would let him know there's 2 cars back. I also would always let him know if we had a red pickup truck, because red pickup trucks tend to be aggressive. And if there was a red pickup truck, he would pull in and use more of the lane that would force them to really go around us instead of brushing past us. So
Smart.
he knew things that I didn't know. I learned them as we went, but I would have never been the right person for the front of that
So let
bicycle.
me interject. Okay,
Yeah.
so from what I'm hearing, there was a massive amount of communication
Yes.
but you guys were only a foot apart or 2 feet apart or whatever. And it wasn't like you could sit there and have a full conversation, but you guys were communicating in small ways. And, when you do those thoughtful communications, it makes the other person feel like, oh gosh, thanks. Oh gosh, thank. Like you're always
Yes.
constantly thinking, oh, that in a happy place. It's not a verbal abuse or any of that. It's more of like, I'm protecting you and you're
Right.
protecting me,
Right.
and you're all on the same mission and goal. I mean, that is marriage in a nutshell. Like my husband and I, we, we have the same goals. We make our goals and we totally keep trying to work towards them. And we still are, now we're in the retirement. Well, we're not there yet, but he's closer to retirement, but I still have like 15 years left. He's 9 years ahead of me in age. Uh, but what I'm trying to say is like, our goals now are changing because now we're getting older and we want to do retirement things and all that, and what our retirement's going to look like. But you're constantly creating goals, and on a bike across the country, you're constantly creating goals like, okay, we're going to go this many, let's keep going. We're going to be there in like an hour or
Right.
whatever.
Right. And
And
then
that's like,
even other things that we would have to do, like on really hard days, you're going up, maybe you've been going up all day. Sometimes you're on a mountain and you're going up and you're going up and you're going up and it's a hard day. And so sometimes it isn't even, we're going to go another 30 minutes. It's, do you see that telephone pole up there? Yes, we're going to that.
right.
And you
Yeah.
get there and now you can stop.
That's a runner too, because like I used to run cross country. And so when I would run, I'd go, okay, I'm going to make it to that pole. And then I'm going to keep breathing, or I'll go slower just after the pole, but then I'll speed back up after that tree over there,
Right. Right.
and that type of thing. Cause your endurance is like, you gotta learn like when you don't have any more breaths left, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you do. You do. And you have to really learn to listen to your body. And then we were doing it where he didn't just have to listen to his body, but he had to listen to mine. Because
Right.
he could have probably pushed through things I couldn't push through. And he had
And
to
so
be
he's
willing.
gracious,
Yeah, and he had to be willing
right?
he had to be willing to stop and then not make me feel horrible for having to do it.
Right.
Right? And
Right.
so we had to really learn that kind of communication.
Because there could be a level of like, oh, God,
Yes,
she's slowing me
seriously.
down, or this or
Yeah.
that. And he took it with grace and was like, nope, we're here together. This is our journey. This isn't me doing this. This is us doing
Doing
it.
this. He
Yeah.
told me all the time. He said it because sometimes I did feel bad. I'd say, you'd be done with today's ride if it weren't for me. And he would say, I wouldn't be on today's ride if it weren't for you.
Aww.
And so that was the difference. And so it took
Okay.
a long time. You remember, I had the abusive mindset. And so it
Right.
took me a good portion of the ride to stop feeling like I was somehow ruining everything, because that's what I had come to
Or
believe.
accepting his words to be true,
To
because
be honest. Yeah.
yes, because sometimes you're thinking like, oh, he's just saying that. That's not
Yeah.
how he feels,
Right. Right.
because you were always made to be feel like you were less than.
Less than, not good enough, not
Mm-hmm.
capable, all of those
Yep.
things. And so there were definitely times on the trip where I felt not good enough and not capable because it was hard. And this was
Yeah.
way outside of my normal, I'm not an athlete. I tell people I'm a desk jockey. Like I'm here at my desk and I enjoy the outdoors, but I enjoy it in a very non-threatening way, like walking along the beach,
Right.
collecting shells. Like
Taking
that's
the dogs around the block.
yeah. Whereas Bruce has always been the running a marathon and, doing a triathlon and jumping out of planes and doing stuff. And then I'm like, yeah, so we're going to collect shells. So we were very different in that respect. And we had to find a way to make it work for both of us so that he could enjoy and I could enjoy. And
Can I ask you a question?
it took a lot of time to figure that
And did
out.
it teach you a lot about like, well, not just pain threshold, but like healing along the way, and like the perseverance of just like keeping going? And I mean, did it teach? I mean, it had to have teach you so many more lessons than just that. But I mean, what a what a unique way to start a marriage.
And yeah, and it healed me. At the
Right.
end of those 3,102 miles, and I always say the 2 because I know where they were, but when we got to the end of that, I was different than I was when I started. I realized that those things that I had been told about not being good enough and not capable, that those were not true. Those were lies. Because I had just ridden across the United States on a tandem bicycle, and there are very few people who can say that. and I did it.
That's true.
Right? And because I was able to do that, it really changed my outlook from that point on. This 3-month trip was pivotal for who I became after.
Kind of taught you to keep going despite everything, right?
Right.
It's
And
like
and
keep
and you learn that you can keep going. Like
yeah.
sometimes your body says, "You're done, I'm done." But if you can have a mindset that says, "No, I'm not," your body says, "Fine," and it keeps going along with you anyway. Like it's pretty amazing because there were several times where I was done. I was just done. I couldn't go not another pedal stroke. And yet we had 10 more miles to go and we made it.
Oh, I don't know how you do it though. That's
You find something. Not only is it personal, it's deep in you, but I also had my cheerleader with me because Bruce wanted to see me succeed at this. And so he
yeah.
would tell me, "You can do it. I know you can do it. Let's do 1 mile. We'll go 1 mile and then we'll take a break. Can you go 1 mile?" "Well, yeah, I think I can go 1 mile." "Okay." And we would take a break and then he'd say, "So, now you've taken a break. Let's do 1 more mile. Can you go 1 more mile?" And I'd think, "No, I think I can do 2." "Okay, we'll go 2 miles." You know what I'm saying? He was that guy. He was so willing to help me on those days where I didn't think I could.
Did you train at all for that before you
Oh,
went, or
yeah.
you're just yeah?
Yeah. No, no, no. We about a year's worth of riding, probably over about 1,000 miles of training, but over a little over a year. So it wasn't like we, did it all at once. But no amount of training really prepares you for it. On
How
day
can you take
1,
off 3 months of work? Does work let you do that?
well, he passed away, in January, but he was retired. And so he didn't have to take off work. And I was working from home. And so I just told everybody I wasn't going to be around for the
I'm sorry
summer.
for your loss.
Yeah,
That
thanks. Yeah.
bites.
After we got back from the trip, we took one more trip. We rode up the coast of Maine. And then in June of 22, he was diagnosed with glioblastoma, which is an incurable brain cancer. And so he lived another 2.5 years and he passed away this past January.
You
So,
just did the one thing that he always wanted to do,
yeah.
and you were able to be a part of that. How
I
special
know.
is that?
And not
For
only that, but despite the fact that our marriage wasn't very long, we were only married 7 years. Despite that, because of that 3 months of intense togetherness, we feel like our marriage was way longer than that. We tell everyone that, whatever it was, add 20 years because that's tandem time. And so it was wonderful that we did so many wonderful things together before he passed that you know, I feel like I had a much longer time with him.
okay, so can I ask you about your 10 little rules?
Yeah.
Which rule is the hardest and which is the most powerful?
I think that's hard just coming up with what is the hardest. I think, which one is hardest depends on where you are in your life at the moment. So, for me right now, the hardest is do hard things. Because my life is hard right now. My husband passed away. I'm trying to figure out what does life look like now. I have to kind of reinvent myself again, something I had not anticipated doing. And so the do hard things is the thing that's the most difficult for me. One of the most powerful ones, though, for me has been never quit on a bad day.
Oh, that's a good one.
So, yeah, we were riding one day and we had to go 70 miles. There was no option. Where we were in this little town in Montana to where we needed to go, there was nothing in between. We rode during the summer of COVID, which meant there was really nothing in between because a lot of these small places were completely boarded up and gone. We had to go 70 miles. It was a hot day, very
In one
hot.
day?
Yeah, yeah.
Shut the front door.
Yeah, we did. So and it was a hot day, and it was hilly, and the wind was blowing at us instead of behind us, and just to make it more fun, the rear tire went flat not once, not twice, but 3 times. So we would have to unload everything, fix the tire, start again. So we get to the end of that day, and I'm done. And I'm not done for the day. I am done. This is no fun. I'm not having fun. Why are we doing this? I'm done. Well, I kept a blog the whole way, and I wrote in the blog that I was done. I think that we're going home, that this isn't doing it for me anymore. And I had a friend reach out who said, what you've done so far is amazing. You've been over 1,000 miles. You've been over the Rocky Mountains.
Mm.
You have nothing to hang your head about. And if you stop today, you can feel proud of everything you've accomplished. And I recommend that you do not quit on a bad day, because you will always wonder if you could have continued. So she recommended that we try to have it take an easy day, or take a break for a day, or whatever, and then revisit. And then she said, of course, whatever you decide, love you, da, da, da. Well, the next day was a beautiful day, and we were done by noon. We had second breakfast. We were in a motel. We got to sleep in a motel that night, and we took a 4-hour nap, and then had dinner, and then slept all night long. It was amazing. And then I was ready to go. And we ended up making it the whole way across the United States. And I could have quit that day. And I would have
Yeah.
felt okay about it at the time, but I would have always wondered. And she was right. And so I've used that in my life over and over. We shouldn't quit. I never tell people don't quit, because sometimes quitting is exactly what you should do. I needed to get out of that bad relationship, right?
Right.
Sometimes you're in a job that's not good for you. It's good to get out of that. It's good to stop things that are no longer helping you move forward in your life. But don't quit just because it was bad today. Don't quit your job because your boss was an idiot today.
Right.
Take a step back, take a step back and say, okay, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I'm frustrated. This is not a good time to make a decision. I'm going to give it 4 or 5 days and revisit. And if upon your revisit you say, yeah, this really isn't doing it for me, quit. Move on to the next thing. Life is short. No need being miserable, right? But
Right.
quitting when things are bad, like when things are bad, you can stop doing something because your shoes feel too tight. I don't like the way this feels. The sun rose this morning. I'm not going anymore. Like everything can make you stop. And so I love that idea of don't quit on a bad day.
That's really good. So the reason why I said the 10 little rules, because I guess I should have said it. Your book is called The 10 Little Rules for a Double-Butted Adventure.
Yes.
So I want to make sure I say that a few times so people understand that you are an author, you have a book, you've been through a lot, and you have some rules. Can I ask you a question about your
Yeah.
journaling?
Yeah.
Hmm. Like how does your journaling like help you create your life? I mean, did it help you create your life rules because you were able to write them down and you were thinking of those things, or you were thinking about the rules as you were doing it, or did they just come
No.
about after
So
you
so
finished?
I kept a blog the whole way.
Yeah.
And I wrote everything down. And the reason I wrote everything down is because prior to going, I read a few blogs and realized that people are liars. They would talk about these beautiful days and everything was easy. And I just knew that could not be true. That there
Right.
had to be difficulties. And so many times they would gloss over those and then show the picture of them standing triumphant at the end. And I wanted to keep a blog that would let people know everything,
Like
especially from the
today sucked, people.
yeah,
Like,
like I stood on the side of the road with the cows and I cried today and I didn't think I could get back on the bicycle. I wanted people to see it, especially from the eyes of someone that wasn't a cyclist. That I went and did this crazy, huge, ginormous thing that's well outside of my comfort zone. And it wasn't easy. And I still managed to do it. And I just wanted like, I don't know, proof. So I kept this blog. Well, when we get home, now I'm having trouble even comprehending that I've done this huge thing, because we rode the whole way across the United States, but you don't really ride across the United States. You ride every day. You ride each day. And each day is its own little thing. And then at the end, you add them all up and you've made it across the United States. So in my mind, it was like, did we really make it the whole way across the United States? Like it was just really difficult. So I started reading my blog. And as I was reading my blog, it was like, "Oh my gosh, look at what I learned here. Ooh, look at what I learned there." Then I realized I have a book in this. I need to go back and pull out these life lessons. So,
Right. So you actually had to carry your, I mean, did you bring a laptop or did you write it? Like you brought a laptop? I was like, dang, you had to carry that big old book with you of writings like the whole way. Like that would have been a lot.
no, I did I kept it on the laptop and, yeah, we carried a lot. I mean, we had a trailer that was attached to us, so because we carried our tent and all of that stuff so that we could.
Just so you camped out too. Like you didn't
Yeah,
always, because I guess it would get expensive after a
yeah.
while,
Yeah.
but
We
you got a
intended
shower.
we intended to do a lot more, camping, and then there was something that was called warm showers, where other cyclists open up their home to people who are doing these kinds of things, but it was
Really?
it was COVID summer. And nobody was opening up their home to strangers who might come in and give them some disease that we didn't know how to cure yet and didn't know what to do with yet, right? So it was very different than what we had anticipated. So we did a lot of camping, a lot of camping. Yeah.
Thanks. I mean, I camped a lot when I was younger, but man, I don't want to do that no more.
Yeah, it's not something that I plan to do much more of.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that I had this amazing experience. I would not trade it in for the world, and I also do not need to do it again to prove anything. So,
That's funny. um, so basically you're like the queen of starting over.
yeah,
And starting
apparently,
over isn't failing. It's starting over takes a lot of courage, right?
yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
it's not failing. It's just seeing what worked for you and what didn't, and then pivoting and saying, "Okay, now what? Now what? Where are we going from here?"
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
A lot of my audiences are moms and single moms or just moms in general, and they're juggling like all the family things and
Yeah.
all the stuff. Do you think there's any lessons in your rule book that might help some of my moms out there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
For me, this is not about cycling, and it's not even really about an adventure. It's about living outside of your comfort zone. It's about finding ways to be fully present, fully alive in whatever moment you happen to find yourself in. So if that means that your moment is spent juggling children and diapers and all of the things that I raised 4 children, so I know exactly where that is, right? That when you're in that space, it's very easy to get consumed and forget who you are and forget that you are also a full individual with feelings and needs. It's very easy to become nothing more than, "I'm a mom, that's what I am," instead of
Right.
remembering that you're Jessica or that you're Terry. You just become this mom. I remember those things. So yeah, I think this would help you remind yourself who you are, that you have value outside of your role as a mother, and then to help you to find ways to live more fully. You know, even a mom who I was a stay-at-home mom who homeschooled my 4 kids, and you can still find time to step away and be who you are and remember who you are. So,
Yeah,
absolutely.
that's a full-time mommy job, being a
Yes.
teacher and a mom. I'm
Yeah.
like, I homeschooled for just about a year and a half for my son, but then when he reached 5th grade, I was like, dang it, if he's so much smarter than me in math, and so I made him go back to school, and then I went back and got my master's degree because I was like, it's so just I was disgusted in myself. Not disgusted, that's not the right word. I was disappointed in myself that, I wasn't smarter than a 5th grader. I guess that's how you would say it, but it's so true, and in my life, that is true, and that's how come I went back to school, and I'm glad
Yeah.
I did. I'm not really, my degree, you don't really have to have a degree anymore nowadays. You can dream your dream, and I always say domination by determination. I am now a podcaster. Like, who would have thought? Well, everybody in high school who said I could not stop talking probably would have thought. But and I wrote a book myself, but about my crazy life, that is packed full of crazy stories. They're not like stories where in your book, they're going to pull something away from it in a way. it's more of them being a fly on the wall warrior in at my life. But in your book, though, there's some great takeaways of resilience, and I think that's special in a lot of ways. And what you went through, I think is it's just like a metaphor, just all wrapped up in a nice little bubble. And I think your steps will help like moms just, keep going.
Just keep
That's
going
the
to
thing.
remember that like each phase of our life, it, they have beginnings and endings. If
Right.
you're in a place where you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, then that just means you're smack in the middle. And eventually you'll see the light again. I mean, it always happens. There's always light on the other side of wherever you happen to be. The
Right.
other thing is in my book, I'm I'm really an expert on me, and I'm not an expert on anyone else. And so these are the rules that have helped me. But I give some guided journaling questions at the end of every chapter that will help you kind of create your own rules. So it might be that my particular rule doesn't quite fit you, but once you're done answering the questions, you now know what your rule should be. Like this is the rule that's going to help you move forward. So
And reinventing yourself, you can do it at any stage of your life. I am 52. On this week, I'll be 52 at the end of the week. And I have been a preschool owner. I was a cocktail server at a nightclub. I've done all kinds of weird jobs. And I'm in broadcast media, and besides my podcasting, and I wrote a book. And so I kind of say, if you've got stories in your back pocket, I always tell people I wear my personality on my sleeve and carry my stories in my back pocket. If you've got a lot of stories in your back pocket, start putting them down on, start typing them out.
absolutely.
And, you too can write a book about your crazy life. And there's a lot of times I think people are more creative than they think they are, because I never thought I was a very creative person. And it turns out I'm super creative.
Yeah. And I think that's another thing is, don't let what other people have told you about you. I was told my whole life that I was klutzy and I could do nothing athletic. And I just
Yeah.
rode across the United States on a tandem bicycle. And if that's
Yeah.
not
Middle
athletic,
finger.
what
F
is?
you.
Right. And if that's not athletic, what is? Now, can I play with can our ball sports my thing? No, do not throw a ball at me. I'm going to duck. I am not going to try to catch it. I'm going to do this. This is what happens. But I could have listened to what everyone said about me, which is I can't walk and chew gum at the same time, and there's no way you're going to make it across the United States.
Yeah.
But I chose instead to essentially reinvent myself and say, well, watch me.
Yeah, sometimes we let people live rent free in our heads.
We do.
My stepdaughter's mom, she's a doozy. She would tell me that that I had the worst sounding voice, and that I'm like I just can't stand listening to your voice. It just it's like nails on a chalkboard. I mean, she was very mean, and I let her live rent free in my head. I'm thinking, who's gonna want to listen to me? Like,
right, I have nails on a chalkboard voice, and it's not true.
right.
It's I don't know. I mean, this is like way years ago. I had a cousin. We were very close in terms of age, and so we were always, being thrown together to do things. And we were small enough that we were playing with baby dolls. And it still rings in my head where I was singing to my doll, and she said to me, "Your voice is so bad, you're going to kill your baby." Okay. Now, for years and years and years, I did not sing out loud. Now, as it turns out, I have an okay voice. It's not great. I'm never going to be,
In the choir.
yeah, I mean, I'm never going to be the person that everybody goes, oh, we want to listen to her do a solo, but
Right.
I can carry a tune, and I wasn't killing babies, and it's just funny how we let people say things about us, and then we believe it, and then we change our lives around that, when instead we should say, well, first of all, what business is it of yours? And
Right.
second of all, I'll sing if I want to.
And those people, at least in my case, they're trying to break you down because there's something about you that's special, and they don't like that.
They don't
You
want
know,
that. Yeah.
they don't want that. They don't want you to be special, more special than them.
And I think that's part of it too, is they recognize that, well, maybe you're going to be better at them at something, and they're going to just try to tear you down so that that can't happen. And yeah, you just need to kind of go and just do your life. And so
Yeah.
when you go about to reinvent yourself, when it's time to, pivot and make a change, all those things that people said about you, ignore those. What do you want?
Yeah. Middle finger them, people.
Yeah.
F you is what you say.
Yeah,
Okay. So
absolutely.
Terry, where can everybody find your book?
The best place to find me is on my website, which is terrymbrown.com, and that's Terry with one R. On the website is this book, as well as I've got some historical fiction that I've written, so you can, get those books as well. My my podcast is there. I talk with other authors, so you'd be able to look that up. I have a newsletter. All of my social media is there, and I even just have a contact page if you wanted to reach out and say hello.
So like your website is like a landing spot for
It
like
is.
all of your
It's for
things.
everything. If you want to know about me, that's the best place to go. And from there, you can then choose how you want to interact with me.
Do you have social media where they can come and stalk you?
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you can find that on my website as well. But I am on Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn. I have some of the others, but I'm not terribly active on all of them. I'm still trying to figure out how they all
I'm
work.
the same way. So Terry M. Brown with one R, Terry, Teri. You will also be able to find her contact or website page. If you go to my page, my website at justsaying.net, and you scroll down to this episode number and Terry's name, you just click into Terry's name and you'll be able to, it'll take you directly to her page. And go to all my, I also am on social media, like everywhere. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Go to Just Saying with Jessica Danel or Jess Danel, and like and subscribe and do all the things so that we build our community of moms. I always say moms, but I know there's dads out there, but probably not too many. But for moms, because I mean, what dad wants to hear about how moms struggle? Like, it's true.
Only the really, really, really good ones. That's
Only the good ones. Like, I mean, even my husband's not listening, so I can say whatever I want about my husband. But my husband is a great husband. I'm very lucky, 28 years. So I'm very lucky to have him in my life. I don't know
absolutely.
if I could survive on a damn bike with him, but because we're very competitive. Okay. This I know about him because when we first met, he was a bartender and I was a cocktail server in a nightclub. And we always tried to outring each other. So that's why they would never let us work together. So I had to have another bartender as because this nightclub had like, I don't know, in Palm Springs, it had like, I don't know, 20 bartenders.
Right.
And so I had to, but I was the best. So I got the best bartender. Just saying. Anyways, Terry, thank you so much for listening to me. I know I go off on tangents sometimes, but I really enjoyed our conversation. I mean,
So did I.
you are a gem. You've been through so much and you're so positive. And I think that, I believe that everybody will have a lot of good takeaways from this episode. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, everybody. Take care.
Low, talking about the days we used to know. VCR tapes and dial-up tones, raising kids living with achy bones. Leather jackets and big hair days, now it's carpool lines and PTA. Neon dreams turn into schoolyard fights, but our hearts glow in retro nights. We are Gen X, living both worlds. From cassette tapes to a digital world. Parenting now with a nod to the past. The retro love we know will last. We are Gen X, living both worlds. From cassette tapes to a digital world. A nod to the past, the retro love we know will last. to slice, telling tales with a side of advice, laughing at the way